Hi, Assalamualaikum. My name is Amira Nuhazwani binti Abdul Khalid. I'm from Group S201 5B1. I'll present to you about what is abusive marriage. The meaning of abusive is extremely offensive and insulting, and it can be engaging in or characterized by habitual violence and cruelty. Abusive marriage can happen in who are newly married and also those who have been married for a long time. The basic concept is men will abuse their wife. We never heard that wife abuse his husband. Abusive can give side effects on children. This is because they can see what happened between their parents. Abusive marriage can be occur in all races in this world. Do you guys know that we can identify an abusive marriage by identifying physiological and emotional abuse, identifying sexual abuse, identifying physical abuse, getting help, and identifying unhealthy relationship. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, now I'll proceed to next point, which are causes. There are several causes for the abusive marriage, which are triggered thoughts, inability to tolerate being hurt, growing up in an abusive family, lacks of boundaries in a marriage, lacks of empathy and substance abuse, inability to tolerate being hurt. It is difficult for everyone to be hurt by the one we love and we commit our lives to. And living with someone sharing everyday stress and unpredictable hardships will inevitably leads to being hurt and disappointed sometimes. But most of us deal with such situations without becoming violent or physiological abuse towards our spouses. They cannot allow themselves to feel anxiety, sorrow, to appear weak, vulnerable, or to be put down in any way. So what makes a relationship abuse in such cases is that they charge instincts and attack relentlessly. Other than that, unexpected reasons that enable the perpetrator to commit violence against someone with whom they share their life with is lack of empathy, or a seriously diminished feelings of empathy, one that give way to impulse all the time. A person with abusive tendency often believes that they have almost supernatural power to understand others. They often do see other limitations and weakness quite clearly. This is why, when confronted with their lack of empathy in an argument or at the physiotherapy sessions, they passionately dispute such a claim. Nonetheless, what eludes them is that empathy doesn't mean just seeing others' flaws and insecurities. It has an emotional component to it and comes with care for and sharing for other feelings. Okay, lastly, substance abuse is one of the common causes of abuse in relationships. According to the American Journals of Public Health, it has also been found that these two are interrelated also in the sense that sometimes the perpetrator of abuse also force their victims into using alcohol and drugs. Many episodes of violence also involve the use of alcohols or illicit drugs.
The victims that decided to stay in an abusive marriage sometimes might be in denial at first because it can be shocking to find themselves in such a situation. It is natural to hope that they are wrong about it, but if they stay in an abusive marriage, they may experience various aches and pain from the abuse, and they may also develop anxiety, low self-esteem, and also depression. Meanwhile, for the victim that decided to leave the abusive marriage, they will begin to love themselves a lot more, and they will get a chance to start and better their life all over again. And this time, without being abused by the abuser. However, they will still constantly be worried about their own safety because they are traumatized and afraid. Based on the statistics from the Royal Malaysian Police show that there were 5,421 cases of domestic violence in 2018, a decrease of 92 cases from the year before. The number of cases referred to and managed by the Department of Social Welfare was markedly lowered at only 775 cases in 2017. Besides that, the COVID-19 pandemic that has forced countless of families indoors to keep safe has unfortunately led to another pressing issues, or what global agency United Nations Women refers to as a shadow pandemic. As a result of the MCO, many vulnerable individuals, especially women and children, have been left helpless and stuck at home with their abusers. So according to the Women's Aid Organizations, WAO, their domestic violence hotlines have seen an increase in inquiries by 3.6 and 3.5 times in April and May as compared to February before the MCO was implemented. Based on these statistics, domestic violence cases recorded for the whole of 2018, the report noted that Selangor recorded the highest numbers of cases, 800, followed by Johor 700 and Kedah 600 out of more than 5,000 cases. However, considering population size of each state, Malaysian kini calculated days will indicate the problems was worse in Kedah. The northern states recorded the highest number of cases for every 1,000 people due to its smaller population size of 2.16 million people last year, followed by Johor with 3.75 million and Selangor with 6.48 million. For these statistics, around 1 in 3 women worldwide have experienced physical or sexual violence, mostly by an intimate partners. Around 38% of all women who are murdered are killed by their partners. The World Health Organization says that violence against women has reached a global health problem of epidemic proportions. Violence against women often goes unreported. In countries where there is extremely poverty as well as cultural obligation to stay with a partner, leaving a relationship may not be an option for many women experiencing abuse. And in many countries, violence against women is not against the law, with marital rape still permitted in many countries. So for the conclusions, what I can say, luck is not in your hand, but decision is in your hand. Your decision can make luck, but luck cannot make your decision. So always trust yourself to make your own decision.
Assalamualaikum. I'm going to explain about why a person choose to stay or live in this kind of abusive marriage. First thing first, those who prefer to live this kind of abusive marriage, it is because they care about their life more than prioritize their abusive partner. By doing this kind of action, they might be able to save their life. And then other than that, why a person choose to live this kind of abusive marriage, it is because they want to prevent themselves from getting hurt in future, because abusers' actions are unpredictable. They might easily get turned off and hit us, or sometimes they might easily get mad over something silly and then try to harass us. Next point, why a person choose to live this kind of abusive marriage, it is because they get a hope. by living this kind of abusive marriage, they might be able to create their new life and gain happiness in future. Okay, meanwhile, for those who stay in this kind of toxic environment, it is due to their fearness, because they feel traumatized, being hit, being harassed, or maybe being tortured, physical and mental. So they unable to go out from this kind of circle or this kind of environment. So they scared to run away from this kind of relationship. They stay in this kind of toxic environment for their whole lifetime. Other than that, why a person choose to stay in this kind of toxic environment, especially the mothers or the women, because they think about their children's future. They are wondering if they are separating with their partner, how their children's future, how the children's are able to survive without the both presence of their without the presence of both parents. Other than that, it is about financial, because the mother or the woman tend to stay in this kind of toxic environment, or tend to sacrifice themselves by staying in this kind of toxic environment. It is because of the financial constraints. Due to the financial of their children, they tend to stay in this kind of toxic environment. Actually, mother always sacrifice themselves, even though they are in danger, as long as their children is okay. Hi, so people out there, I just want to advise that we should prioritize ourselves and don't forget to count your blessings.
Hi, I'm Shahira, and now I'm gonna briefly present on the survey we conducted. To begin, there were 75 respondents with a female majority of 74.7%, and the rest 25.3% were male. Out of the 75 respondents, 89.3% were aged between 17 to 25, followed by 8% of respondents aged 26 to 40, and very few of under 17 and above 40 years old. In the survey, we also asked about whether the respondents ever been in an abusive marriage or relationship, and 84% of the respondents said no, and the other 9.3% said yes, while the rest not very sure whether they undergo the abusing relationship or not. And the next question we asked on why do the respondents think people stay in an abusive marriage, and a majority of 60% say for the sake of children, followed by 25.3% sympathy that the abuser might change, and 12% of them say that the abuser had nowhere to go. We also asked the respondents what could be the possibly reason for the abuse to happen, and 44% of them agree that financial is the main issue, followed by mental condition, drug influence, and all of them agree child was not the issue of the abusive in marriage. We closed the survey with a question to ask the respondent the opinion whether they think that women had the potential to be the abuser, and a majority of 86% agree that women can be the abuser, and 13.3% does not agree that women can be the abuser.
There are some recommendations. Firstly, reach out a neighbor, friend, relative, colleague, and shelter to go to in case you need to leave the house immediately for safety. Secondly, have a plan for how you will exit the house safely and how you will reach there. For example, you must think the transportation to reach there. Thirdly, keep a few essential items, for example, identification card, documents, phone, money, medicines, and clothes. and also a list of telephone numbers in case of an emergency. If possible, develop a code with a trusted neighbor so they can come to your aid in case of an emergency. If you are experiencing violence, it may be helpful to reach out to family, friends, and neighbors to make a safety plan in case the violence against you and your children escalates. Either you stay or leave, your choice is in your hands.